What is up, everybody? Welcome into this Thursday episode of Flippin Bats. Got a ton of stuff for you today. Justin's second start as a member of the New York Mets happened on Wednesday. We'll talk all about that. Making a statement, bunch of good stuff there. Top 5 BVPs, most valuable players so far this year. Tons and tons of stuff to talk about. The Oakland A's, their binding agreement unbinded and now binded back. We got it. We'll talk about it all. Let's get to it.
It's a blowout. 8th inning, 10-3. Bases are loaded for Verlander, who waits out a 3-0 pitch. He swings, and it's a high fly ball. Deep center field. It is gone. Home run. And a huge bat flip to celebrate. All right, Ben, start the show already.
What is up, my friends? It is Thursday, meaning we are recording live early Thursday morning. I am joined, as always, by Alex Curry. Alex?
Yeah?
How are you? Happy Thursday.
I'm great. I noticed, it's really funny. When you're doing the cold opens, I find myself over here, like, saying it with you and acting it out with you. And I'm like, oh, you're doing great, Ben. You're crushing it. It's like, what am I doing? No one can see me. No one can hear me.
I can see you. I can see you out of my peripheral vision.
Also, maybe you didn't hear me because I texted you once again while your brother was pitching yesterday, while he was making history yesterday.
I just block your number when Justin pitches now.
Excuse me?
Well,
it was a positive thing.
I
was listening to the Reds broadcast, and every time he was on the mound, they were calling him a living legend. And I was like, is this not the coolest thing ever? Not even through the evening. You never once even liked it, responded, or did anything to me yesterday. So we're fighting. We're officially fighting.
So I did see it, but
okay,
like
cool.
I said, I don't do
Cool.
So I just saw it. I looked down it, and I was watching. I didn't know that was the Reds broadcast, so it's kind of cool that that's what they were doing. But that was early on in the game, and then, man, what a game he had. His
Congratulations.
second ever start with the New York Mets. Picks up his first win as a member of the Mets. 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 run, 7 strikeouts, 103 pitches, was throwing 97 miles an hour in the 7th inning. Retired 18 of the last 19 batters he faced. This was signature Justin. I mean, this is what this is everything and more the Mets wanted and boy needed.
Yeah.
Needed so desperately. He talked about that after the game. But he said he felt so much more normal this game, and it was really I was happy to hear him say that. Obviously, early in the year, this is his spring training, essentially. He did have one, but then gets, shut down for a bit where he's still throwing. But these are really the first couple of games he's thrown since the World Series. And for him to come out, struggled in the first inning a bit again, just some hard contact. And then what he said is in the 3rd inning, he kind of made some mid-game tweaks. And from that moment on, really was just dominant. So made those mechanical adjustments, just trying to find his timing, he said. And boy did they work. But after the game, in his post-game interview, they asked him about the start, and he said, your job as a starting pitcher, when it's your day and you know the bullpen is a little taxed, is to go out and eat some innings. To be able to do that, it felt great, and hopefully it can jumpstart our rotation and just win some games. So just a great start on the mound. Really good to see him back to, pitching in the 7th inning, getting through 100. I was honestly shocked to see him come back out for the 7th. He was at like 80-some pitches already. To go back out for the 7th was great to see, and entered some more historic territory after this start. So his win against the Reds was his first win against the Reds in his career. It was only his 3rd start against them. First win against the Reds, meaning he now has earned a win on the mound against every single team in Major League Baseball, becoming only the 21st pitcher in the history of baseball to do that. The only active ones to do it are Garrett Cole, Zach Greinke, and Max Scherzer. So some elite territory there. One of only 21 pitchers to ever do it. Just a great start, and just a really happy. It was awesome. He's happy. It was a really good night.
Yeah. Were you happy? Were you okay?
I was happy. Very happy. As you know, I get nervous watching, and
You're
especially
unwell.
especially early in the year, new team,
Yeah.
struggling team, like he hadn't pitched much, so like I wanted so badly for him to go out and pitch well.
Yeah.
For the team, for himself, and that first inning a little rocky, and then just to see him, really from the third on, like I said, retired 18 of the last 19 batters he faced. It was dominant from then on, and I'm very, very happy for sure.
Yeah, so as I mentioned off the top, I was listening to the Reds broadcast because that's just what my package had me watch. And from the first through the seventh inning, every single time your brother was on the mound, it was like a different, insanely awesome compliment that they were like talking about your brother. Here is the living legend, Justin Verlander, future first ballot Hall of Famer, Justin Verlander. He is just as good as ever, Justin Verlander. Like, it was such a positive experience just listening to the respect that every single broadcaster and club has for your brother and what he's able to do at this point in his career. Yeah. So hats off to Justin. That was great.
Being one of only 21 pitchers to ever do something is really cool. I do think that that I don't know if it's a record, if you will, but let's use that record.
Milestone?
That milestone will now hold less and less weight because of the way the scheduling
now every
shapes
team's
out.
playing.
So he's really kind of the last starter of the old guard with the old scheduling that was able to accomplish this, because now everybody's playing everybody, and this won't be a huge accomplishment. But one that won't easily be accomplished is this stretch in his career of most starts of 7 or more innings with 2 or fewer hits allowed since 1900.
Whoa.
He's now tied for second with Randy Johnson and Roger Clemens with 33. So he's tied with those two huge names. First place, Nolan Ryan with 62.
Whew.
He's barely over halfway there. So quite the accomplishment. Shout out Sarah Langs, I saw had that stat. So great night. Great day, win on the mound after a loss in his first game, though he pitched well. Hasn't lost consecutive decisions since August of 2018.
Whew. Way to go, Justin.
Yeah.
Now, he wasn't the only pitcher to reach a major milestone this week, because we saw Shohei Ohtani once again pass Babe Ruth, one of the greatest of all time. He is now has the most strikeouts among a player to hit at least 100 home runs, passing Babe Ruth, which is incredible when you really think about that.
I really feel like the only comparison we've had for Shohei for some time now has been Babe Ruth, and Babe Ruth almost just feels like this like fictional. How did this sort of player exist?
Yeah.
714 homers, was a pitcher, struck out over 500 batters. Like, how is this possible? And now the one comparison to him is Shohei, and now we're seeing Shohei pass him in certain categories. And we talked about it earlier this week, how in his next start, Shohei was going to pass Babe Ruth on the all-time strikeout list for, as you just mentioned, for players that have hit over 100 home runs. He now holds the most pitcher strikeouts. And, it truly is, it's remarkable. And even when this segment, right, that we have this week in Shohei Ohtani news started 2 years ago, and the comparison I kept making was Babe Ruth, but even then it felt like really though, like how
we talked about it Tuesday. It's like two completely different athletes. You can't yes, you can compare the stats because that's the only thing we have to compare it to. There's the only player that was doing anything remotely close to what Ohtani's doing. But athletes today are not the same as athletes back in the day. I mean, they had full-time jobs. That's why they had spring training to get guys into shape, to get ready to play a baseball season. These guys are professional athletes year-round since they were kids training for this moment. Like, it is a completely different beast.
It's interesting. Back when, the comparisons first started with Shohei, I was sort of along those lines of, well, athletes today are different. Like, Shohei, if he faced Babe Ruth, would dominate him. Like, they're completely different. But the more that Shohei keeps going in this direction, the more I find myself believing that the comparisons are getting closer and closer to being true. not the opposite direction in terms of, yeah, right, the two-way thing is hit you right in the face. But also, Babe Ruth feels like a fictional, a made-up baseball player. You know, like if you ask anybody on planet Earth to name a baseball player ever, even non-baseball fans will be able to say, well, Babe Ruth, right? And I feel like Shohei is becoming more and more like a fictional baseball player. Like, how does this exist, what he's doing? He threw 7 innings against the Astros of 3-run ball, passing Babe Ruth. His ERA now stands at 2.74 on the year. His whip is under 1, 0.91. He's 4-1 on the year. And after those 7 innings, the very next day went out and golfed a home run out to right field, a pitch that was actually a nasty curveball that almost bounced in the dirt. I don't even know how he hits that pitch out. So this is the modern day version of Babe Ruth. That's what we are seeing right in front of our eyes. So did we get to see Babe Ruth play? No, but we're getting to see modern day Babe Ruth play, and we should watch him every chance we get. So yes, past Babe Ruth in career strikeouts, and as I mentioned on, I believe it was Tuesday, is also close to catching him in the home run category, was only 580 away. Well, guess what? That number is now 579 homers away. Watch out, Babe. Shohei is coming. Another homer on Wednesday afternoon.
So question for you, because hopefully we are just in the beginning stages of watching Shohei Ohtani in his prime. I like to believe that. So if you had to guess, at the end of his career, what would you guess his career strikeouts will be and his all-time career home runs will be? Yeah, putting you on the spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Think about it. I mean, you have your brother, who's like one of the all-time great pitchers. You can kind of like compare him to that, and then the all-time great home run list.
So the tricky
what are you
part,
going to do?
This is the unknown. Obviously, hits you right in the face. Of
how long?
At some point in his career, you have to believe he's going to have to pick one or the other.
Or he doesn't.
Right? He's not going to be 40 years old and throwing 7 innings, and then the next day being the 3-hole hitter.
He might.
He might, and I hope that's to be true. But I'll. Okay, so let's just say for a second.
Hypothetical. Throw it out there.
Let's say that's true. Okay, so he's at 500 strikeouts right now. I think we could be talking about a world in which Shohei reaches the 2,000 strikeout mark. And what's he at? He's at, how many homers is he at?
He has 134.
134. I think he can get to 2,000 and home run wise, I'll say 400.
Oh.
350.
Oh. I was thinking more to like the 5.
Well, you got him. He didn't come over. He doesn't have the longevity in a major league career because he came over
he was older
at a certain age because of the MPB. So, you know, he didn't come over until he was, what, 25?
Okay. 450?
So that's 5 years of guys that, yeah. So I'll stick with 400.
I'll go 450. I'll raise you 450.
400 and 2,000, which just that's insane. That's insane.
It's incredible.
But man, that'd be cool.
Wouldn't it be? All right, well, let's move on to another home run king because Aaron Judge, the captain, is back after missing 10 games with the Yankees with that little hip injury. The Yankees went 4-6 when he was gone.
Rough games for the Yankees.
Yeah, they need him back desperately, and thankfully, they just won the series that he came back in.
Yeah, one for the game of baseball. Glad Aaron Judge is back. I mean, it was the Yankees offense, as we've now seen, desperately needs him. Comes back and then goes 3 for 4 on Wednesday in his second game back. So hasn't missed a beat really, but man, there's some concerns with this Yankees team. And was Aaron Judge the spark the Yankees need, or were the Oakland A's the spark that the Yankees need? You know, like
it was the perfect time to play a team like the Oakland A's.
So I think we're only going to learn more and more about this Yankees team, but I'm not completely sold on them. But as I mentioned, desperately needed him back, the captain, for so many reasons. What he brings offensively, what he brings to that clubhouse. You need Aaron Judge out on the field, and he is back. So happy happy for him. The game of baseball is better when he's playing and hitting homers. So
Yeah,
good
but
for
I'm
the Yankees
with
that he's
you.
back.
Yankees might be in some trouble. They're in a tough division. They've been plagued with injuries already just in the short amount of time of the season. So
We'll see.
we hope he
see.
can turn it around.
Yeah, seriously. But
Yeah.
happy he's back for sure.
Yeah. All right. We're moving on to making a statement.
All right.
Are you ready for this? So I'm going to give you some pretty bold statements.
Okay.
And you basically tell me if it's an overreaction or not.
Okay.
Are you ready for it?
Yep.
Let's get started with our first statement.
Okay.
Masataka Yoshida is the best off-season signing.
Oh,
Yeah.
just in general.
Yep.
So it's honestly pretty the day that he hit those 2 home runs
Yep.
against Milwaukee, that next show came on and said that was the breakout game for Yoshida. I truly believe he's going to go off after this. Well, he has. Before that game, he was batting .213 on the season. He's now batting .298. Just a couple of weeks later, they were 11-10, the Red Sox. 11-10 entering that game. They're now 22-16. They've gone 11-6 since. He's now batting like 3rd or 4th in that lineup. He's been huge for them. But I am going to say that Masataka Yoshida is the biggest AL signing.
Interesting.
Because I don't know how you don't pick Sean Murphy with the Braves.
Yeah.
And I think Sean Murphy is an MVP candidate right now.
Wow.
I think Sean Murphy was the missing piece. The missing piece
Wow.
for the Atlanta Braves. They had everything. There's an argument that they're missing a shortstop, but they had that, and then he's now gone. I digress. The team is great, and that catcher position, not just an offensive catcher, a guy that can lead the pitching staff, be great behind the plate, also be a great hitter. Sean Murphy has been invaluable for this Braves team that is the best team in the National League. And so for that reason, I'll say Sean Murphy. But Yoshida, best signing in the American League, I think, and has the potential. The only reason I can't pick him in the American League is because they're not. I think the Braves get a boost here because they're winning the division and the best team in the National League, and Sean Murphy has been a huge part of that. I think the Red Sox would be in a much worse off position if it weren't for how good Yoshida has been, and I am a huge, huge fan of his. And I believe right now he's the AL Rookie of the Year. So I'll say he's the best AL signing and Sean Murphy best overall.
Okay. So one of.
One of for sure. I'd probably, if it weren't for Sean Murphy, I'd probably say yeah.
Okay, moving on to our next statement. The A's move to Vegas is not a done deal.
Yeah, absolutely. How can you say it is? They had a binding agreement 2 weeks ago, and then it unwound. And apparently they're just binding a new one up.
Yeah.
I don't believe in anything. How do we believe anything the A's say at this point? I don't know. But this new agreement is now with Bally's Corp on this new plot of land on the Vegas Strip. It's on the site of the Tropicana Hotel. This new agreement, $1.5 billion ballpark with a roof, will come towards the end of the Strip, right where the Tropicana Hotel is.
Yeah.
And it'll be because they're going to demolish that and build this ballpark there. But it's just a mind-blowing process here. Now, for those that are confused, myself being one of those, so I had to read into this a good bit, so I've gathered a better understanding. So for those that are confused, basically the reason that my best reasoning for why the other deal just unbound and this one bound up is because the public funding for the deal will be far less. About the previous deal is going to take about $500 million of public funding. This one's going to be $375 million of public funding. It's also land that they don't have to purchase. So cheaper for the team, which A's looking for the cheaper route. Shouldn't shock anybody, but I'm still not convinced this deal is going to happen. And here's why. There is a massive time crunch involved here. The Nevada legislation there's only 28 days left in their meeting. It's about, I think it's 120 day meeting process. Well, this has all come together very quick, and they need to figure this out and strike the deal with only 28 days left to do so. This meeting only takes place once every 2 years. So you have 28 days left to strike the official agreement and sign on the dotted lines that this is going to happen, or I don't think this happens for 2 years, another 2 years, and that just starts the process. So there's a lot at play here. Things need to move quickly, and do I believe that the A's are in a position to spend this much money and do it very quickly? No, I'm not, and I hope I don't know if I hope I'm I don't even know what I want. I wanted the A's to stay there and build a new stadium and allow those fans to enjoy it, but I'm not going to get that apparently. So something needs to happen. I don't even know what this question was. I'm not a believer in the A's doing anything.
It's not a binding deal.
My
it's not
answer.
A done deal.
No, of course
it's
not
a
binding.
done deal. Oakland, you're on the clock.
Yeah, 28 days. Probably 27 by now.
Yeah. Oh, that's brutal. Okay, well, this is kind of similar. Our next statement.
Okay.
In the same ballpark, if you will.
Well, there's not a ballpark for the A's.
There should be a baseball team in Orlando.
No.
Why?
No. So the reason this is being asked is because a guy that is a member of the Magic ownership group went public and said that he believes the team should come to Orlando. And they released these renderings of their proposed ballpark. This isn't just like a guy saying, hey, bring a team to Orlando. There's clearly been some thought into this process. Yeah. Now, here's why I say no. One, what he's saying is there should be an expansion team that comes to Orlando, or, hey, the Tampa Bay Rays, just move them to Orlando. Well, I'll address both of those. The Rays shouldn't move to Orlando. They should move to, here's a thought, Tampa
Bay.
That would be great. That would be a great start. So let's move the Rays out of the Trop and out of St. Pete and into Tampa in a beautiful ballpark there where I do believe they would do very well. That's point number one. We're not moving the Rays to Orlando. We're moving the Tampa Rays to Tampa. That's first start. Secondly, expansion. No, we can't bring an expansion team to Orlando because we can't even prove that one team does well right now in Florida, right? The Rays, for their valid reasoning, they're not in Tampa. It's in a terrible place, terrible ballpark to get to go watch a game, but move them to Tampa, then we can talk about their crowd. The Marlins don't pull very well. So why would we bring a third team to Florida? Don't get me started. Well, I guess I'm already started. I'm not for it. I do not think there should be a movement of the Rays there, and I do not believe there should be an expansion team there. I believe, I mean, this could be a much deeper I believe the team that is east of the Mississippi, I think they're going to put a team on each side of the Mississippi, if you will. I think Nashville needs to be one of those.
Oh, Nashville would be incredible.
And they've had this process going for years. I already have 2 Nashville Stars jerseys. They have a front office in place. They have everything there. They're ready for expansion.
They're a great sports city.
Yeah.
Whatever goes there succeeds, which is the most important part.
Yep. So I will say no.
No.
I really lose track. When I start going down,
I know.
I forget the question.
That's okay. There should be a baseball team in Orlando.
False.
We can't admit, though, that those, what'd you call them, renderings? The possible, like, what it's going to look like photos were stunning.
Well, yeah, I could draft up something. I could draft up a stadium.
Look at this thing with the clear roof so you can see through. Like, how cool would that look with rain, too?
Yeah.
Rad.
Yeah, but it's just like I could type in my computer on these new AI graphics and give me a cool baseball stadium. That's probably what the guy did. No, I'm just kidding. It does look cool.
Okay.
It does look cool.
Let's move on to our final statement.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Yep.
The Mets and Giants lucked out by not signing Carlos Correa.
Nah, I'm going to disagree with this. Correa obviously is struggling start to the year.
Yeah.
And publicly said after he got booed in his game the other day and said I'd boo myself too with the amount of money I'm making if I'm playing like that and I'm in the stands, I'd boo myself.
Yeah, you got it. As your fan. I mean, he's slow start to the season. He's batting 189, 5 home runs, 16 RBIs, 0 stolen bases. Like, it hasn't been a strong start for probably the loudest offseason we've ever seen from a player.
Correct. Yeah, for many different reasons.
Yeah.
But I will say I disagree with this because I believe he's going to turn it around. Carlos Correa has slow starts notoriously in the past. I think he turns it around. And the reason I'm specifically going to say no to this is because the Mets clearly need a bat. The Mets needed him. And I think he will be fine throughout the course of the season. I do believe he turns it around. I think he'll end up hitting, I don't know, this is a slow start, but I think it's fair to say he ends up hitting over 250 with around 30 homers. Hell, if he stays healthy, I think he can do that. The Mets team is missing a bat. And that he could have been that struggling bat right now, but the bat that turns it around. And so I will disagree.
Okay. Well, let's move on and talk about some other top players around the league. In your BVP, Ben's most valuable players, the 5 most valuable players across the league right now.
Yep.
Through this season. Starting with number 5, who you just mentioned might be an MVP candidate, Sean Murphy.
Yeah, this has been the best pickup of the offseason for anybody, I believe. He's been so good for that team, and at a position where they were getting offensive numbers from that spot, but Sean Murphy is one of the best young catchers in the game of baseball all around. He's great defensively. He's great calling a game, leading a staff, throwing out runners. He's been fantastic offensively. His first homer with that team was that walk-off home run. So he's been invaluable to this team, and I think he is every bit of an MVP candidate right now in the National League. But as you mentioned with the BVPs, it's combining both leagues into one spot. So the top 5 players in the game of baseball as of right now, and Sean Murphy's at number 5.
At number 4, another big offseason pickup, this time for Miami, Luis Arraez.
Yeah, I truly believe we continue to undervalue what Luis Arraez brings to a baseball field. You know, the guy's hitting around 400. And, like, if anybody in baseball is going to hit 400 ever again, it's going to be Luis Arraez. Now, I have this conversation with John Smoltz on Saturday with Smoltz. You'll hear it. But we're going to talk about Luis Arraez and players that could potentially hit 400 and specifically Tony Gwynn, and talked about him and Smoltz facing him. So you'll want to listen to that on Saturday. But Luis Arraez is just an absolute menace at the plate. And I think if a player is going to hit around 400 on a season, right? I'm not saying he will, but if a player's going to hit around 400, I don't care if they're all singles. I don't care if they're singles and doubles. Like, that guy should be in an MVP conversation. And by and large, he hasn't been in terms of last year, won the batting title, but you don't even get mentioned in an MVP conversation. So he's in my BVP conversation, and he's here at number 4.
At number 3, on the best team in baseball, Wander Franco.
Man, this is the breakout year for Wander, and I'm so happy. He's batting .310. He's stolen 11 bases already on the year. He's hitting for a high average, high power, stealing bases, driving in runs, all while doing it on what is the best team in baseball. Mm-hmm. But shout out to the O's, by the way, who continue to – the O's – I'm getting sidetracked. But the O's had a week where they played 6 games against the Braves and the Rays, and they went 3-3 and beat the Rays in a series and could – great series for them. But the Rays are still the best team in the game of baseball, and Wander is having his breakout season as he came up as the top prospect, and this is the guy. And man, has he been a blast to watch.
At number 2, another Braves rock star, Ronald Acuna Jr.
Yeah, Ronald ain't going anywhere. He's on this list to stay. Hit a home run, I think it was Wednesday. Either Tuesday or Wednesday. 470 feet.
Massive.
An absolute tank to left field. And, I mean, just listen to what he's doing so far. 347 with 7 homers, 22 RBIs, and 15 stolen bases. You want to talk about a 40-40 season, which I've said since Ronald came into the league, I think he can be the next player to do it, which is a very, very short list. There's been 5, and he could be the 5th in history to do it. Ronald Acuna is on pace right now for a 2030 season in the first half.
Ooh.
Are you kidding me? Yes, he's number 2 on this list.
And at number 1, the unicorn, the man who has been on this list all year long, Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, I mean, look, how do you get more valuable? He's batting almost 300, 293 on the year with 8 homers, and he's 4-1 on the mound with a 2.74 ERA, punching out everybody. He has like the lowest batting average against, the lowest whip. I mean, I could go on and on, as you know.
Can.
But this guy is the most valuable player in the game of baseball and is the most talented player the game has seen in arguably ever. So, yes, Shohei Ohtani leads the list again as the top BVP. But I will say, there were some players at the beginning. It took him a while to get up there.
He was at number 2 for a while.
I kept him in the 2 spot for a while, but at this point, it's like, how do you not?
Would you call him a mystical creature, which explains the unicorn, because a unicorn's a mystical creature. So it's the perfect explanation for Ohtani.
Yeah. So this week, if the season ended right now, this would be the MVP voting if both leagues were combined. Sean Murphy, Luis Arraez, Wander Franco, Ronald Acuna Jr., and Shohei Ohtani.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Now, we've given you a lot to think about. Now, you guys are going to give us something to think about. We asked for some fan questions on Twitter. Now, remember, baseball, life-related, mixing them both together.
I've been asking for a dating question.
We got one, kind of. We got a mix of one today. Okay, so let's get started with Yotaro's question. Masataka Yoshida is raking after coming back from a cold start to the season. It looks like he made a few adjustments to his swing, and they work out for him. Can you please explain the process behind swing adjustments, why some work and some don't?
Yes, swing adjustments are very tricky in a season because you struggle with this inner battle of I need to mentally get back to where I should be, and I'm here for a reason. My swing is my swing, and it's gotten me this far. But you also struggle, you have to find a balance of every time you go 0 for 4, you can't go get in the hitting lab and say, I got to fix this. No. But in Yoshida's instance, starting the year, as I mentioned, when he was heading to Milwaukee and had that 2-homer game, he was hitting 213 after a WBC where he was raking. So I think for him, the process of a swing change, it's not really a swing change. It's like mechanical tweaks, as you said, Yotaro, is very difficult, but it involves, first off, watching a lot of video. So I will take video of where I was at my best or when I was going well or a game where I was 4 for 4 with 2 doubles and a homer, and I will go watch those at bats and slow it down. The technology is incredible these days. I can watch my at bat on a full screen right in front of me and go frame by frame by frame. And what you do typically is you look at your hands and where your hands are starting and the slot that your hands get into, and then you look at your lower half and your weight shift and how your load and stride and all of that stuff is working, and you'll typically find one thing that is way off in your eyes. Okay, this is what I was doing. My hands were getting here, and now they're just not getting there. The process is very tricky, as I mentioned. There's a mental and swing aspect to it. But once you realize and find the thing you're doing with your swing, you head to the cage, you figure it out, repetition, 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 and then you feel comfortable taking that into a game, and then next thing you know, boom, I'm back. And it's just this vicious cycle all year long of going through this. He's going to struggle again. Yeah. Everybody is. It's ups and downs and ups and downs, and it's finding that balance and being able to quickly get back to where you're your best. And it's hard. I know.
It's like baseball's all mental, but it's also like the confidence too, to be able to make that adjustment in a big league game and fall on your face until you get it right. So it's not going to happen right away.
It's also really tough. My career, in my 5 years professionally, I made 2 all-star games, and I would typically, the beginning of seasons would start off great. I would put in so much work in the offseason and start off great. And a big part of this is having somebody there. And of course, the Boston Red Sox do, all major league teams do, having a hitting coach that's willing to lock in and work with you. And in terms of my career, this was really tough for me, but I would always start off really well. As I mentioned, it was in 2 All-Star games, and then second halves were really a struggle for me. And I would lose myself, and I wouldn't have a direction to turn to. And unfortunately for me in my career, I didn't have a hitting coach that I can go on about this forever, but I didn't have a good hitting coach. And it really was tough for me, and it was detrimental to my career. So him having somebody that he can trust and rely on to say, when you get in a tough stretch, hey, this is what you're doing now. Let's go look at what you were doing and get back to that. And just having that is so valuable. So there's a lot of things that go into it.
All right, let's move on. Next one's from FC Hambone. Ben.
All right, bring it on.
Would you ever treat a date
Yes!
the way the Oakland A's fans have been treated? First
No!
question. What MLB team has treated its fan base the best?
We got it. This is kind of a dating question.
It's like a baseball dating question, all right? So, no, if you treat, let me just say, if you are the Oakland A's treating a date the way they treat their fans, you are the douchebag with bleach tips. Thinking you're don't stink, you know?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
you'll come to me.
You can't drop a douchebag and then not say shit. I mean, you can.
I didn't know if I could.
Yeah, of course you can. You don't what do you mean? You don't know.
Yeah, it's like you think your shit don't stink. So that's.
So absolutely, you cannot treat a date as the Oakland. Can we put the question back up? Let me get the exact wording here.
Would you ever treat a date the way the Oakland A fans have been treated?
No, because the Oakland A's are treating their date as it's like, we're going to go to a restaurant, and I'm not only going to make you pay for yours, but I'm going to leave, and you're going to be in charge with the entire bill.
You're just lucky to be here and that I'm in your presence, basically.
Yeah,
it's one of those.
You're
really lucky that I'm giving you the time to even be here with me.
On the other side of things, I mean, how do you not pick, like, the Mets? I mean, the Mets are treating their, it's like, we'll pay you everything you could want.
Yeah.
The Braves paying their young guys early. I mean, believing in them from a young age. There's some other on the contrary.
But what major league team have treated their fan base the best is what they're saying.
The fan base. I thought it was their
best. Like, what is the best fan experience? Giving back to the fans, easily accessible. I mean, I guess giving the best product on the field to the fans is also like you're showing that you care.
Yeah.
And you're treating the fans well.
I'd say the Astros, obviously, with the World Series they've won.
Yeah.
This is a bit of a side note
Dodger fans.
Yes. Well, they've been in heaven for a decade.
Dodger fans love their organization and team. It's hardcore.
I would say what the Padres have been doing, just like bringing in so many fun, exciting players. And a bit of a side note, but I was looking at their promotional schedule coming. The Padres it's just incredible. Like Bark in the Park nights all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I digress, but I was just looking like, man, this would be fun to be a Padres fan.
Taking
Great
care of their
environment,
fans.
taking care of the fans. Those are some that come to mind, but not the A's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last fan question from Aaron. When the MLB expands, do you think the league should abandon the AL and the NL and go geographical like the NBA and have East and West conferences with 3 or 4 divisions each? Be a major mix-up.
I don't think we get rid of the American League and the National League. But I do think it ultimately looks very, very different.
Okay.
I think we're in for an entire, as you mentioned, I would agree with the questioning. I do think we get to that. I just think it keeps the American League and National League titling.
Yeah.
I think we're probably looking at when we expand to 32, I think there will be another division created in each league and maybe one team out of each division and into this new division based on geographical location. I think that sort of has to happen. You know?
Well, I mean, now that the leagues, like you have a DH in both leagues, it's kind of similar and easier now to just kind of mesh.
Yeah. Like, you know what? The Rays and the Marlins, same division.
Yeah. Makes sense.
It's like,
you're right there.
Let's not overthink this.
Yeah.
Yankees, Mets.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
What
dangerous. A blast. Same division.
Yeah.
Make it happen. There's a lot of fun options here and options that just logistically make a lot of sense. So I think we keep American League and National League, but I think the structuring of the league will look entirely different. Maybe not right when expansion happens, But within the next 10 years, within the next 10 years, on the Thursday episode of Flippin Bats in 2033, I think we'll be talking about completely different looking baseball. That's the last one?
That's the last one. I got one that we didn't have in
me?
here. Well, no, it was sent I also quote tweeted. And this is a question
advice?
for you.
Do you have a marriage question for me, Alex?
It's not a marriage question, but someone did ask. Hold on. Let me pull it up so I can. I want to get his name.
What is this going to be?
What? No. It's safe.
It's safe. Okay.
Yeah, it's safe. Wait, I clicked on the wrong one. Here we go. Okay. It's from James. Is a beer a must when you're barbecuing? It's a hard-hitting.
Is a beer a must when you're barbecuing?
Hard-hitting question.
You know,
Are you a barbecuer? I'm a Traeger. So I have a Traeger. So I like barbecue smoke, and it's like a whole experience. And I am having either a glass of wine. I'm not a beer drinker, so I'm having a glass of wine or a cocktail, and it just makes the whole experience that much better.
Yeah, I would say yes. But I also have some friends that don't drink at all. So
yeah,
for people that
do.
A
drink. A cocktail. Or no, like a mocktail.
Anything.
Something
you gotta have something.
You gotta have something in your hand while you're barbecuing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Something. Okay.
I'm done.
I'm
done.
Yes,
I'm done.
That's an end of the show.
That was you.
We're about to go off the rails.
That was
all right.
you.
Thank you all for listening to this Thursday episode of Flippin' Bats. We will be back tomorrow for another one. Please show Alex right now. She's lost it. Show her. We need to show her.
No, I'm gone. I'm gone. I'm gone. Just go.
Thank you all for listening to this Thursday episode of Flippin' Bats. Make sure you subscribe, follow anywhere you listen to your podcast. Apple, Spotify, wherever. We're also on all social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and you can watch everything as well on YouTube at Flippin' Bats Pod for all of them. Thank you all for listening. Until tomorrow, this has been another episode of Flippin' Bats. Peace.